This show is clean, pretty much.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Effizode 634. Hello, my name is Mike Matthews, broadcasting from the last place on earth, located somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California. Today we hear from Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, the Brewmaster, plus the return of the feature News Random, where we look at some interesting hidden business news that will amaze you. And we will also hear about something
Mike's Daily Podcast
that has to do with Twitter and Blum Kings.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
What is a Blum King? I don't know, but it just popped into my brain, and I think that your host of the show's insane, but I thought I would share with you some interesting stuff too. Like last time, we did some things that you will have to say, my gosh, Mike, that was really cool. We had a fun time.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
What happened exactly was we went back in time because of a caffeine-powered smartphone that exploded.
Mike's
Yes, so that's
Daily
the kind of thing that happens
Podcast
on this shoe.
Yeah!
Thank you for listening. I'd like to thank you right now, up front and center, for listening to this show. There is a show that I will never watch because every little bit, every clip I've seen of it, this guy annoys me. And, you know, I used to think the British were really, really smart. You know, I watch their TV shows. Their TV shows seem really smart. Their movies seem really smart. And then along comes this guy.
Apparently, not everyone liked my take on the Pope from last week. Salon.com calling it, quote, the worst right-wing statement of the week.
I'm British, and I'm going to talk like this, like I'm announcing a British reality TV show.
Yeah, he was mad at the Pope for saying what he did about how we're getting too wrapped up in our possessions, and maybe capitalism is what promotes our obsession with possessions, when in the Bible Jesus said, don't let your possessions possess you. He said that. And so this guy, this British guy who's acting like a American, like he's been here his whole life. Okay, he's been here since 1974. But he still sounds like he's a foreigner. And he says this against the Pope. It's interesting. He got his degree from the London School of Economics and then began his broadcast journalism career just in the Bay Area, not too far away from Podcastro Valley, California, in San Francisco at Chemo. Yes, there was a television station called Chemo. Now it's Kofi, K-O-F-Y. In 1980, he joined the Manhattan Bureau of the newly founded CNN and then made his way to Fox eventually in 2004. I can just imagine how people in the South champion this guy, this Stuart Varney, like they would champion a Glenn Beck, like they would champion a British Petroleum. Oops! They spilled oil all over your beaches. Oh, and killed all your sea life. Oops. Sorry. I don't like him. He's too syrupy. I'm a little leery of the syrupy people. I'm not syrupy, am I? I don't know. Let's throw me on a pancake and see what I taste like. Oh, look who just walked in. Hi, Mike. It's Benita, the rodeo queen. How y'all doing?
And it's a disgruntled fiddle player, tell you what.
What?
He is not syrupy. He is speaking the truth. The Pope went out of line, talking about how capitalism is bad. Capitalism is good, okay?
All right, well, you know, you can't be against the Pope because there's so many Catholics that the Pope is their leader. And there are a bunch of Catholics in America, very influential Catholics. You can't say that kind of thing.
Oh, like I can't say that, hey, you Catholics, why don't you just go and sniff some more of your smoke that smells so delicious but doesn't smell like ribs?
What does that even mean?
They should make ribs in the Catholic Church. Then I would become a Catholic.
Okay, maybe there'd be more Southern Catholic churches, because when I lived in the South, I didn't see like any Catholic churches. It was weird. A guy coming from California, and there were so many Catholic churches.
Yeah, that's nice.
Look who else just walked in.
Hello there, Mac. I make the root beer under Brewmaster.
Brewmaster, today I went to the Anchor Steam Brewery in San Francisco, went on a tour, had some free beer. It was delicious.
That's nice, Mac. I'm not jealous in any way that you were drinking somebody else's root beer. In fact, I'm pouring you some delicious root beer right now.
All right, I didn't have root beer at Anchor Steam. I had beer. And, wow, this is terrible. I'm throwing it on the floor. Oh, I'm sorry, Brewmaster. Did that insult you?
No!
So this little bit of news I didn't know about, this is fascinating. First off, a little quick entertainment news. And so How I Met Your Mother is wrapping up, and the past couple of shows have made me cry because I'm a big softie. And the episode where Josh Radnor's character Ted said to Colby Smolder's character Robin, when he said to her, I have to let you go, and she goes, yeah. And then he lets her go, and she like flies up into the sky. Because they use a lot of imagery, imagination. Some scenes are imaginative and dreamy, and you don't know if it's real or not, and that's how they do the show. Kind of like Lost. It's like a sitcom Lost is what it is. That's exactly what it is. For all of you who have never watched it, that's what it is, right? Well, they're making a How I Met Your Dad show, which I think is horrible. Terrible idea. And then I'll probably watch it and like it. But CBS has green-lighted it, and they're going to make it. And Greta Gerwig, she is an actress, writer, and producer. She's a blonde bombshell, and she is going to play the protagonist of the new female version of How I Met Your Mother or How I Met Your Dad. And it's going to feature her as a sweet yet free-spirited girl in her late 20s who has never really embraced the notion of growing up. However, unlike Ted, she's already married when we first meet her in the pilot. Then we quickly realize that she and her newlywed husband are far too different to make things last. With the help of her close group of friends, which is exactly like another show that we've just had 8 years of, and we're going to be tired of seeing it, so now they're going to restart it all over again. It's a stupid idea. Sally will embark on an epic tale of bad dates and crazy shenanigans, a rehashing of a show that we're already watching, before eventually finally finding the father of her children. I don't want to go through this again for 8 years. This according to eonline.com. Well, the How I Met Your Mother's creative duo of Carter Bays and Craig Thomas, who obviously are doing this now for the paycheck and don't know when to end, have penned the pilot alongside Up All Night's Emily Spivey. Up All Night was good the first season. The second season, I couldn't watch the first episode. I was like, this is going downhill fast. Reports claim that if How I Met Your Dad is officially picked up by CBS, then the series will shoot in New York instead of in California and Studio City, where it's currently filming and trying to look like New York and pretty much pulling it off. For those of us who've never really been to New York and can't tell the difference. By the way, I did not know this. Colby Smulders, who plays Robin, was originally that character Robin was going to be played by Jennifer Love Hewitt. And now into some financial news, because we are talking about business today, and some business news. Twitter, in their first ever quarterly earnings report last week, reported that although it had made its first ever quarterly profit, not counting hundreds of millions of dollars it paid out in stock-based compensation, making a lot of people in San Francisco very rich. And so when I'm walking through the streets of San Francisco like I was doing today, after I was on my Anchor brewery tour, I notice all these young people that I've been hearing about that make triple digits and are spending their money now at overpriced restaurants in San Francisco because they think that's the cool thing to do, even though they should be putting that money away for a rainy day, which never happens here in San Francisco except for this past weekend. And now that was the longest run-on sentence that I have no idea where I ended. Oh, yeah. So back to, Twitter. So, they had to pay out the hundreds of millions of dollars to stock-based compensation. It also had slower user growth in their latest quarter report. Wall Street concerns about that slowing trend led to Twitter stock plummeting in the aftermath of the earnings report. And that's interesting because like a week ago, Fortune magazine was saying how they actually predicted this. They say Twitter is going to have the bird is going to fall to the earth in 2014. They said. Well, with all that preface, Twitter may be working on a significant redesign of its website meant to make the service look more like Facebook, according to news.cnet.com. Mashable reported today that one of its editors spotted an all-new design of the Twitter homepage that appears aimed at mimicking the look and feel of Facebook. According to Mashable, the new Twitter profile page has the avatar photo and biography placed well to the left side of the page and devotes a lot of space to the header photo. Right now, you've got the things, not so much of that. You've got all this space. It's all down the middle of the page. Well, you've been on Twitter. The design, which Mashable suggested only affects the desktop version of Twitter, also seems to make tweets much larger. For all of us people losing our eyesight because we're getting old, all in all, this is clearly intended to make it easier for users to digest tweets and perhaps to attract users who have more experience on Facebook and trying to get what Facebook has, and that is all the old people. Like your grandma is on Facebook. Your great-grandma's on Facebook. That's been the way it's been for a while now, and Twitter wants that. The article goes on to say that in its conference call with analysts, Twitter's senior management insisted that they understand that their current user experience is difficult for new users and that they are going to be rolling out new features over the next year intended to improve that experience. In addition, the company put up a blog post in September saying it does experiment with new features from time to time. This redesign may well be evidence of that effort.
Mark, I don't care about Twitter or about the computer at all.
Yeah, Mark, we stay away from computers because they're the devil. Computers are the devil? Yeah, well, let me show you. I'm turning on this computer right now, and look what's coming out.
I am Beelzebub.
Beelzebub?
Yes, I am Beelzebub.
Actually, you look like someone else. Are you sure you're not Stuart Varney?
Oh, actually, I am Stuart Varney, and I have been caught by you, you socialist pig.
I'm not a socialist pig. I'm a democratic pig. I like America and the, free market system, but sometimes it needs a little bit of hand slapping because people just get out of control, is what happens with the companies doing that sort of thing.
You sound like the Pope right now. I'm Stuart Varney is my name.
What's your name?
Stuart Varney. And you are the Pope.
No, I'm not. I'm not the Pope.
Mark, he's right. You are the Pope. Stuart Varney, I'm a big-time fan. First-time listener, long-time caller.
I think you got that wrong, Disgruntled Fiddle Player.
I think you got your whole life wrong.
Mark, don't listen to him. He's all angry. And he also gets a little starstruck around Fox News commentators. Do you get starstruck too, Benita? No, I don't. I get starstruck around the Fox News female commentators. Why are they all hot? It's just complete torture for us left-leaning people. Well, I'm not completely left-leaning. As I look down, I guess I am leaning a little bit to the left.
Mike, I was going to tell you that you should probably do something about that. I'm Stuart Varney. I need to drink some more scotch. I need another steak. And probably some more scallops.
Hold on. Wait. Here, I got some pancakes. I'm eating a little bit of you with the pancakes. Yep, you're syrupy.
Stop biting my arm. That's not nice.
You're sounding a little bit more like Winston Churchill. Now, I like that guy.
We will get them on the shores and on the lakes and above in the sky. We will create a wall.
No, that's not what he said.
Mark, that's what he said. I remember it was in my history book. Tell you what.
Mark, we gotta go. I need to find that history book and smack my husband, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, over the head with it. Bah! History Channel's crap! Oh, okay. Glad they're all gone. So it's just you and I, Brewmaster, and the other people here at the last place on Earth.
I don't like to be here with you and those people. I get all nervous and I start to stutter.
Yeah, you did. That's kind of cute. You know, today when I was on that tour at the Anchor Brewing Company, I met a really nice couple from Malaysia, Shen and Joanna. Super nice people. I talked to them. They told me all this stuff. I've never been to Malaysia. I've never been to Asia. I don't know anything about it. I'm a complete babe in the woods. They told me all these interesting things. They're so nice. I had lunch with them. Yeah, Shen, he said, hey, I know about a Filipino food truck in San Francisco. Well, we were already in San Francisco, but we had to take a bus and go over to the financial district. See how everything ties together on this business podcast today? Financial, business, what have you. And there was a Filipino food truck in front of... I'm standing there. I'm looking at this building, and suddenly I realize it's the building. It's the headquarters for Stitcher, which is the app. For those of you who don't know, you should know this. You can listen to this show through the Stitcher radio app on your smartphone. It's free. You download it on your phone. Not to be a commercial for Stitcher, because I wasn't even nominated for their podcast awards. It had to be all people that have television shows, or they're on NPR or Garrison Keillor's American Public Media Network and what have you. But I'm not bitter. Anyway, Stitcher was right there. I was looking at it. Wow. So I have lunch, eating this delicious, spicy Filipino food. My burrito had French fries in it. Yep, that's a first time for me. I guess it's kind of like a breakfast burrito. You know how breakfast burritos have potato in it? But this had actually fried French fries in the burrito, but this really delicious, like, spicy pork that was so good. Oh. And then they shared their nachos with me, and their nachos were delicious with jalapeno and everything. Great Filipino food I never had out of a food truck before. It was fantastic. And then I walked them over to down by the ferry building because they were on their way to the Exploratorium, and they were nice people, and I talked to them. They're recent newlyweds. They got married about 2 weeks ago, and Joanna is getting her degree, or she said, I'm hoping to get my degree. She's going to be graduating soon. So we wish her the best of luck with that, and we wish them the best of luck with their new marriage. And what a fun day that was in San Francisco.
Wow, Mike, you get to travel and do all kinds of fun things.
Yeah, and if you like the Facebook page, there was a picture that I posted today of my adventures, so you can see that if you are a liker of the Facebook page. So, go to facebook.com/MikesDailyPodcast, like the show, and you'll get cool little posts that I do like that, as well as the show. When I post the show, share it with your friends so that more people find out about Mike's Daily Podcast. Oh, and another bit of news today. As I was walking around, I suddenly got an idea for a book. And I'm really excited about this idea. I'm not going to divulge any details yet, but I'm thinking instead of actually publishing the book, I might do a little page on the MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com website where you'll be able to read excerpts from the book as I'm writing it. So that's something that might happen. I don't know. Don't hold your breath. But it could happen. But I will tell you at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com, there are things at the top of the page. One's called Cubbyhole, one's called Interviews, and another is called Songs. And you can hear songs that I've written and produced. You can hear interviews that I've done in the past, including the one we had yesterday with the psychologist LB that we spoke to. And then there's also the Cubbyhole, which has interviews that I've done in the past, including with Blake Shelton, Dierks Bentley. I interviewed a lot of country artists in my former life. And also at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com, there's a window for the Amazon deal of the day, a great discount on whatever they've got there on cool things. If you click on that and buy something through that helps support the show. There's also links to where to listen to us in iTunes, and you should subscribe to us in iTunes so when I post a new show, you get it instantly, and you can rate and comment on the show there. There's also links to where to find us on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spreaker, YouTube, Yelp, Twitter, the Facebook page that I mentioned. There's also the blog and the daily podcast picture, all there at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com. And if you would like to tell me what you think about Twitter and about their whole redesign, or if you're a fan or non-fan of Stuart Varney, email me, MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. We read your comments on the section. Emails for me-mail. That's MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. And also email me there if you'd like to be a guest on the show or if you'd like to sponsor the show.
News Random.
Yes, these are stories in random form. News Random. So there are a bunch of podcasts that are much more popular than this one that have to do with business. You've got your Marketplace show, which runs on just about every public radio station in America. And they're doing this half-hour show called Marketplace, and it's owned by APM, American Public Media, which was started by none other than Prairie Home Companion man Garrison Keillor. And then there is Planet Money, which was started by an Ira Glass, who had so much success with his show This American Life, and he featured some of the people from Planet Money on his show from time to time. And now Planet Money is one of the biggest podcasts that is downloaded. In the spirit of business-type podcasts, I would like to dive into the topic of business because I found some interesting stories here, as we will now embark upon in this segment, News Random.
Up in San Francisco, where the forest meets the bridge, I thought I saw you standing there, and then you fell into the...
That is the group Foxygen with San Francisco, and this is about San Francisco. I think I've had enough of San Francisco. Is that a song? I've had enough of SF. Well, the fact is the difference, the disparity between rich and poor in San Francisco has gotten to an extreme. And you've probably heard about it. It was recently written about in Time magazine in an article by Katie Steinmetz. And she says that the 1,800-odd tech companies in San Francisco are doing wonders for the local economy, generating capital and funneling revenue into city coffers through their giant conferences, property taxes, and hotel bills. And high-paid, high-skilled tech jobs are creating other jobs. Every tech job ultimately supports 5 additional ones. But this success has come at a cost. SF has limitations that most other big cities don't. It's 49 square miles, which would fit inside New York City 6 times. And the local government has long indulged development-averse residents, fighting tall, dense buildings while preserving rows of quaint Victorian houses. By constraining the amount of new housing, San Francisco has essentially pushed up the price of housing. The entire West Bay region added 26,700 jobs from December 2012 to December 2013, yet only 6,000 new housing units are currently under construction in San Francisco. Consequently, housing costs have gone through the roof. The median rent for an apartment is now $3,475, and home values have gone up more than 16% in the past year. Yes, $3,475 compared to in 2011, it was $2,726. In other parts of town, the less fortunate are flouting building codes and making homes wherever they can. San Franciscans are now renting laundry rooms and broom closets. How bad is the disparity? Well, the 2012 median household income in San Francisco is $73,000. That's the median. What's New York? $51,000. Los Angeles, $47,000. Wow. San Francisco, expensive. Citywide, no-fault evictions are up 123% from last year as landlords and developers are using legal loopholes to evict tenants and skirt the city's strong rent control laws. The price for other goods are rising, too, as business shift and cater to a class for whom money is less of an object. People stand in line for individually hand-poured drip coffee that costs $3 per 10-ounce cup. Residents can use their smartphones to summon cars organized by Lyft, Sidecar, or Uber at peak times. The latter may charge a $40 minimum fare no matter the distance. And that actually Planet Money was talking about in a recent episode where Uber, some guy from Uber was talking about how, oh yeah, we'll charge 7, 8, 9 times the amount that we regularly charge if it's a peak time. We have no problem with that. And the person that was asking him the questions from Planet Money is, don't you think people are going to start to hate you? And he was like, oh no, we can tell from our apps that, people are fine with us charging that amount. People still pay for it. And, the people that they have working that are driving the cars are getting paid a chunk load, so they just keep charging it. In San Francisco, recently, a restaurant was selling toast for $4. The tension between those moving in and those getting pushed out is fueled every morning as comfy private shuttles pull up to city bus stops known as Google buses. The often double-decker Wi-Fi equipped coaches ferry employees of Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, and other tech firms from their homes in the city south to the duller corporate campuses in Silicon Valley. And let me just tell you, if you don't live in the Bay Area, that is quite a ride. That is not just a quick 15-minute drive. That takes upwards hour and a half or more, especially with the traffic. There's still no special bus lane for buses coming down. That's the 101, right? Some buses will take 280 down, but it takes a long time. These buses are equipped with Wi-Fi, but at some point you're like, shit, I'm on a bus. I'm not going anywhere. I'm stuck on a bus. Oh, I make at least $100,000 a year, but is it worth it for the sanity? And at the end of the day, they have to take that bus all the way back to San Francisco. And San Francisco, is it worth it? It's foggy. Do you love fog that much? I can think of a lot of other foggy places that are less expensive than San Francisco. Sometimes I don't get it here. I don't get why the need to spend that amount of money to live in San Francisco. I used to think it was a neat city to visit. I've lived here 4 years now. I've visited it a number of times. And quite frankly, you get a little tired of it. You get tired of seeing all the people that are working their butts off to be able to live there. And tired of going into a restaurant and paying outrageous prices for just nothing, for toast. So I don't get it. But there are people that think that is the be-all and end-all to be able to take a bus all the way back up. And you may have also heard that Google is working on a ferry that will take people down from San Francisco to Silicon Valley areas. Why they don't just move into San Francisco like Twitter did last year, that will probably change as well. The city plans to start regulating these shuttles and charging them $1 per stop. Yes, that's right, $1. But the plan has only fanned the flames among residents who pay $2 per person to ride the city buses. The huge vehicles have become the defining symbol of the city's stratification and the prime target for those angry about it. A lot of protests are happening around the Google buses. The ire is directed at riders bound for the jobs whose median salary might be $100,000 and the median employee age 29. 29. The year 29 years old. I don't remember when I was 29 that many of my friends making that much money a year. It seems that the whole dynamic has been flipped since the technology boom and people, younger and younger people learning how to code and learning all the ins and outs of creating tech stuff. Me, don't know too much about tech, just a little bit of when you code, you have to use slashes forward and backward for particular things. Real estate brokers are using the proximity to these shuttle stops to charge more for nearby apartments. To tell you how extreme the income gap has become, since 2006, not too long ago, the gap between rich and poor has grown 28 times. 28 times. The richest household averaged $291,000 $1,000 in annual income in 2012, the poorest $11,000. That compares to New York, whose change has been 25 times, and Indianapolis, which has changed by 17 times. One obvious solution to the crisis is to build more housing. Mayor Ed Lee has fast-tracked projects for lower-income residents while city officials are trying to strengthen anti-eviction laws to keep current tenants in place. The mayor also supports raising the minimum wage from $10.74 per hour to possibly $15, and he is encouraging the tech industry, which helped elect him, to contribute more to civic causes. But Lee admits city officials were blinded by the boom. Quote, "I don't think we paid any attention to the middle class. I think everybody assumed the middle class was moving out." Oh, so middle class, I bet you really feel welcome in San Francisco now, when your mayor was even hoping that you would get the hint. Kind of like when you've stayed too long at a party. Time for you to go.
For you are a magnet, and I am steel.
Walter Egan singing Magnet and Steel. And you know, magnets are kind of important on credit cards, right? They're on the back there. But that magnetic strip is actually leading to increased vulnerability to attacks when you make purchases in a store. In several recent incidents, hackers have been able to scoop up massive troves of credit, debit, or prepaid card numbers using malware inserted surreptitiously into the retailer's point-of-sale system, the checkout registers. Hackers then sold the data to a second group of criminals operating in shadowy corners of the web. Not long after, the stolen data was showing up on counterfeit cards and being used for online purchases. The solution could cost as little as $2 extra for every piece of plastic issued. The fix is a security technology used heavily outside the U.S. While American credit cards use the 40-year-old mag strip technology to process transactions, much of the rest of the world uses smarter cards with a technology called EMV, short for Europay, MasterCard, Visa. While American credit cards use the 40-year-old magnetic strip, or what they call mag stripe technology, to process transactions, much of the rest of the world uses smarter cards with a technology called EMV, short for Europay, MasterCard, Visa, that employs a chip embedded in the card plus a customer PIN to authenticate every transaction on the spot. If a purchaser fails to punch in the correct PIN at the checkout, the transaction gets rejected. Online purchases can be made by setting up a separate transaction code. Now, there's an estimated $12.4 billion in card fraud on a global basis, and 44% of that is in the U.S. American credit card fraud amounts to about $5.5 billion annually. Card issuers have so far calculated that absorbing the liability for even big hacks, like the recent one with Target, is still cheaper than replacing all that plastic with chips. Now, the historical reason the U.S. has stuck with mag stripe technology, ironically, is that it once was superior. Our cheap, ultra-reliable wired networks made credit card authentication over the phone frictionless. In France, card companies created EMV in part because the telephone monopoly was so maddeningly inefficient and expensive. Some big banks like Wells Fargo are now offering to convert your mag stripe card to a chip and PIN model. It's actually a hybrid that will still have a mag stripe, since most U.S. merchants don't have EMV terminals. Should you take them up on it? If you travel internationally, the answer is yes. The card payment companies MasterCard and Visa are pushing hard for change. The two firms have warned all parties in the transaction chain, merchant, network, bank, that if they don't become EMV compliant by October of 2015, the party that is least compliant will bear the fraud risk. In the meantime, app-equipped smartphones and digital wallets, all of which use EMV technology, are beginning to make inroads on cards and cash. And further down the road is biometric authentication, which could be encrypted with, say, a fingerprint. There's no business like show business, and they in Hollywood have found a way to save money making movies with the help of the military. Captain Phillips, the movie, had a missile destroyer in it, a Wasp amphibious assault ship, helicopters, and Navy SEALs themselves playing themselves, though they weren't on active duty, all courtesy of the U.S. Navy. This according to Fortune.com in an article by Sue Young. Now, even in an age of special effects, it's exponentially cheaper to film on actual military ships with real military advisors. Despite action sequences and an A-list lead, Captain Phillips cost about $55 million to make, compared with a visual effects fest like Gravity, which cost about $100 million. The fulcrum of Hollywood's unlikely partnership is Phil Strubb. He is a former film student and a Navy videographer, now the entertainment liaison at the Department of Defense. Scripts of movies helmed by Michael Bay, Ridley Scott, and Steven Spielberg are regularly sent to Strubb's office at the Pentagon in hopes of procuring military cooperation. If he signs off, the filmmakers gain access to the most awesome arsenal in the world, and in turn, the image and message of the American Armed Forces get projected before a global audience. The Captain Phillips script required no changes for their approval, but some scripts do. The Superman reboot, Man of Steel, had the script's portrayal of the military cartoony, as it was deemed by those who looked over the script in the military. Warner Brothers asked them to reconsider flying people from the military to Los Angeles to meet screenwriter David S. Goyer, who modified his script to incorporate their suggestions. After the changes and their green light, production set up at Edwards Air Force Base in California, home of the original Right Stuff test pilots. The Army pitched in with 3 helicopters and 6 Humvees. The producers weren't charged to use the equipment, which was essentially idled during filming, but they paid for its transport to Edwards. And by using active military personnel who are currently training, filmmakers were also able to skirt the Screen Actors Guild and their daily minimum rates for unionized actors. All told, the military machines cost less than $1 million in a movie with a $200 million budget. Ooh, baby Linda Ronstadt. And babies are big now in China. China has announced it is relaxing its one-child policy. China should deliver at least 1 million more babies a year total now. This, according to Fortune.com in an article by Scott Sendrowski. And a big seller in China now is maternity clothing that has inside of it a material that is a blended silver weave that it prevents electromagnetic radiation from entering the womb. It is one of the most popular maternity products and costs $100. When China's state-mandated family planning began in 1979, it was an effort to control the swelling population of a poor nation. But one child worked too well, wreaking a gender imbalance about 117 boys for every 100 girls, and an elderly population proportion that rivals Japan's. Lu Ting, a Chinese economist at Bank of America Merrill Lynch, expects pent-up demand for second children to yield 9.5 million additional babies over the next 5 years. But the trend won't stick. As China gets richer, it will probably follow the example of South Korea, where family planning ruled for more than 25 years, but childbirth stayed on a downward trend after the policy ended in 1996. It's the same picture in Hong Kong, Singapore, Thailand, and Malaysia. Citizens of wealthier countries simply have fewer kids. There is an upside. You get more and more resources pushed into children and education, and productivity will go up enormously as a result. So China remains competitive no matter which scenario plays out. There are more Chinese under 14 than there are people in the U.S. China's labor issues cannot be fixed by more kids anyway. Its workers want to be paid more, which is all but inevitable as the society becomes wealthier, transitions to a service economy, and strives to compete globally with intellectual capital. There, Joanna and Shen. That's Linda Ronstadt. As we go outside the last place on earth where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, California. The couple I met at the Anchor Brewing Company from Malaysia, they were asking me about what California was like when Arnold Schwarzenegger lived here, and I was telling them, and then I was telling them about how Jerry Brown is now governor and that he used to date Linda Ronstadt, and they were like, who? That was Linda Ronstadt.
And here's today's podcast picture.
So I block it every time I see it, but when I'm watching Hulu, there's a commercial for Jack in the Box that comes on about some kind of pig mixed with cow that they're serving. I don't know what it is. Anyway, so there's a mutated pig that's chasing me in today's podcast picture in the cartoon that is also with Bison Bentley, who joins us already in progress. Thanks, Mike. I can't wait to be in this cartoon with you, being chased by a pig. Do you know that? Yes, it's a fantastic experience. So check it out there at MIKEs-DAILY-PODCAST.com.
Mike, Stuart Varney took the Disgruntled Fiddle Player and I out for steak dinners, and we drank a lot of scotch, and now we're drunk and full of protein.
I hate it when people call it that reference from last show. Yeah, and you had a good time?
Yeah, but Stuart Varney's a little weird. He was touching my knee.
Oh, my gosh. Scandalous. You heard it here first.
That wasn't my hand. That was the Disgruntled Fiddle Player's.
Oh. No scandal. Never mind.
Yeah, Mark, I was touching Benita's knee, something like that. Whatever he said.
Okay, well, tomorrow we will bring you the return of the segment Into an Interview, where we will hear from a band called Eyes Lips Eyes and hear some great music from them. Plus, we will hear from Madame Rootabega, Valentino, and Bison Bentley will be back.
I'm going to come back?
Yeah.
I better go home and shower then.
Please do.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST.com. Email Mike now at MIKES-DAILY-PODCAST@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
I can't hate on you, San Francisco. Those LED lights on your Bay Bridge are so pretty.